on May Day when the TUC had made further requests for cuts in fuel taxes, that we'll lose 4 billion. Let me put on record, and I can show this by numbers or figures, that the country will lose far more than 4 billion. In fact, you could lose between 10 and 20 billion at the end of the accounting year from the same fuel prices that continue to remain very high. I have said this with you before, Benjamin. The people who do your public contracts, right, whatever their bill or wage bill was last year, it will double this year because you were dealing with fuel at 5.7 last year. Now you are dealing with 11. It will double. Whatever it costs per kilometer to construct your road. Because the guy is also, falling on the bulldozers and the trucks to go and pick your quarry items, right? Because you are using labor. A normal mason a year ago was probably doing 70, 80 cedis. Now they are charging 100, 120 cedis. Does it not account for anything that the state itself would end up paying way, way more than it actually is budgeting to even spend?
All right, Mr. Amo, I'll have you hold on. Your point well noted. Let me bring in Kojopoku to respond to that. So for Duncan Amoah, it's not about scrapping all the taxes, but some of them. And he's listed, the ones that he thinks, don't need to be on petroleum products. Are you willing for such a compromise? Does it make sense to you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, my network went off. Look, let me put something clear out. I am not against the things that Duncan is saying. I'm not against any reduction. There was a conversation that was had that we thought that the government can reduce up to about 50%, 50 pesos off the fuel. But government thought in their books they can only do 15 pesos. Look, my conversation with Duncan and with COPEC has always been in two legs. A good sword must cut both ways. Anytime I have had a disagreement with Duncan, it's on one thing. His ability to criticize government, but not to criticize the industry players. Look, in his release that COPEC did, they are forecasting some increases in petroleum products. But if you look at the numbers critically, we should have a reduction. But the industry players, the OMCs and the BDCs are hiking up their margins. Now, let me give you a case in point. The last time we had about 21% increase, which took us from the 8 pesos, 7 pesos to where we are today, with about over the 10 pesos mark. The Platts for gasoline was about 1,250 per metric ton. Today, as per his own submission, is 1,057. So clearly, it is more than $250 per metric ton cheaper. Now, the dollar to the cedi, then when we had that jump, was inching towards, even some people were saying that they were buying at 8 and all that, when they were saying that the dollar has broken the 8. Now, Bank of Ghana is doing forex to the BDCs and the OMCs at 7.45 as per the last disbursement. So all indicators means that prices should come down. But he is telling us that prices are going up. Why is that? The reason is that the OMCs and the BDCs are not reducing their margins. That is where I'm saying that if you want government to reduce taxes, then the OMCs and the BDCs, their margins should be capped. Because if you don't cap their margin, they will increase their margin on Ghanaians.
Okay, Kojo, hold it there for me. I want us to do this analysis very quickly. Since you're talking about the exchange rate and all of that, in the latest release from COPEC, dated the 28th of April, they point out these bits. At the current average crude price of $104.56 per barrel, resulting in $1,057.44 MT. What's the metric tons, right? Metric tons for petrol, and then 1,138.33 metric tons for diesel on the international market, coupled with the exchange rate of $1 to 7.8165. That is what they peg it at, 7.8165.
So 7.8.
Yeah, so 7.8. That is still rather high. I mean, we've moved from what, 5 something to 7.8. And again, let me just wrap with this. And the government's tax rebate, they factor that in, of 15 pesos, still in place. COPEC is expecting the pump prices of fuel for the next pricing window from the 1st to the 15th of May to be as follows. Petrol, 9.538 per litre. Diesel, 10.829 per litre. Is that not justified from the end of the OMCs?
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying, that compare the numbers to when we had about 5-6 weeks ago, about 3 windows ago, we had a 20% increase, which brought us to where we are today before this window. What I am saying is that based on Duncan's numbers, his own numbers, these numbers are lower than what it was when we had that 20% increase. So let me correct something that Duncan put. And yesterday I double checked. Look, there is a document that MPA puts out there, which is more like an indicator of what the market is doing. Normally, what the market, the OMCs have been doing is to go into the open market and buy the forex. As per the last 5 weeks, what the government and Bank of Ghana has done is to create a desk for forex trading just for the oil downstream market. So now the OMCs and BDCs are no longer buying forex from the open market. The Bank of Ghana gives them forex at a certain rate. And in this window, the Bank of Ghana forex that they gave them is 7.45. It's not 7.8. So Duncan can go and check that. So the point I'm making is that if you use 7.8, which is the open market price, then yes, you expect some increase as he's suggesting. But the actual factors, which is on the ground, which is what they are using, is 7.45. So
Kojo, this gap of about 45 pesos or so, the 7.4 something they are getting it for, and then the difference in there, you feel that should be able to get them to lower their prices?
Very, very substantial. 45 pesos in forex, looking at the volumes they are dealing with, is very substantial. So the point I'm making is that looking at where we were, look, when we had the jump, bear in mind, crude oil went to 127. Almost 130 at one trading. Today it's 104, highest 111. Okay, so what I'm saying is that the reason there is uncertainty in the market and people are charging certain numbers at the pump is because the deregulation is not working. Okay, because there are companies selling cheaper. Because this 7 pesos or 8 pesos that Duncan is saying that we can have an increase of in this market, most companies will not even increase. If we are really doing true regulation and the OMCs will not tell you they are reducing their losses, they have to reduce the prices because now they are getting forex cheaper and the price on the world market is cheaper than what it was 5 weeks ago. And those numbers are there for everybody to see. But the problem is that in Ghana, deregulation is not working. So when everybody come and talk about taxes, it shifts the conversation away from what the OMCs and the BDCs are doing to me and you. And that is where my problem with Duncan is. He refused to criticize these companies.
Duncan.
Hi.
Yes, you just heard Mr. Kojo Poku explain why he thinks it's not all about taxes.
Let me take his issues one after the other.
And maybe to start, Duncan, I would like to find out from you, is it true that you are getting, because I heard something to that effect. So is the central bank giving you an exchange rate fixed at around 7.4? And why are you using 7.8165 in your communication, in your press release?
Benjamin, trust that I will share that data with you now. I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'll share it with you right now. The NPA indicative price, the forex that the NPA quotes is usually even way lower than the BDCs will get their forex for. But NPA is at 7.81. Yes, for this particular window. For the following window, they go to 7.86. I'll share that document now. I have it here. I was actually going through it. It is nowhere 7.45. You can't even get $1 at that rate anywhere. And so I wonder how that figure comes about. But I'll share the original NPA document with you. We are not conjecturing or conjuring figures. No, not at all. I'll give you the source. NPA, like Ojo quoted, and it's 7.816, not my figures. you only quoted or referenced them. Again, Kojo insists that we refuse to
criticize,
as it were, criticize the OMC. Let me put on record that if he were to get figures from the OMC, he would actually weep right now. You see, this is how it works. If somebody had, let's say, a capital, right, and was buying the same fuel, right, plus or minus, everything at 5 cedi 70, right, to recoup 20 peswa profit or margin, right? Today, he needs to double that figure to 11 cedis, right, and recoup the same 20 peswa margin. And you say he's making too much money. Mind you, the cost of utilities have surged completely. One of them yesterday was complaining. A platform like yours, if you give them time, right, they will come with their numbers. I can assure you that. And so sometimes it's even difficult to go asking that something should be done for them because we, the consumers, are already squeezed. But if you look at their numbers, right, if you went to the bank to take 5 million Ghana cedis, right, just to earn 20 pesos, and at the end of your sales, if you did 100,000, right, times 20 pesos, how much are you getting? 200,000 or 100? I don't even think it's 200,000. 20 pesos times 100,000. If it was 1 cedi, you would have made, 100,000.
So that would be 20,000.
Yeah.
Exactly. For somebody's investment of that tune, they make 20,000. Out of that money, they pay for light. A lot of them are really under debt that they cannot talk about. At the end of the month, one of the stations indicated he paid 11,000 Ghana cedis for the pumps that are running. Right? He has not paid the pump attendant. He has not taken care of any overhead, bank charges, nothing. It has gone up. That figure he would have needed to get the 20 pesos. He would now need to borrow more in order to sell the same volume. I think Kojo needs to cut them some slack. If at the end of the day they were all to come sit on your platform, my brother, you would probably end up thinking that the Ghanaian consumer is not even fair to them. But I have closed my ear to them because at the end of the day, what they ask for is for the system to be able to adjust and increase something for them. But how much can you increase when prices are already higher? So that, I don't know, your time might not permit, but there are a lot of reasons why certain discussions we tend to avoid them because you know the truth. The truth is that the guy who needed 5 million Ghana cedis, right, to put into his business just about 5-6 months ago, would today need 10, 11 million Ghana cedis to do the same volume of business. You have not increased his margins, yet you continue to think that he is making super profit. Where is the money? Benjamin, where is the money? You heard PURC indicate that they are soon going to review tariffs, right? Those fuel stations are selling with electricity, I'm afraid. They are selling with manpower. The pump attendants will take home something at the end of the day, right? Whatever added cost that they come with, fire service will go and collect. One of them was actually fighting with me yesterday that the NPA itself is even charging too high for their license fees, right? You ask the BDC now to renew annual license at $300,000 US, and you know the rate the NPA itself is quoting almost 8 Ghana cedis for $1 to renew your license. And so the guys that Kojo probably sometimes focus on, they have made the investment, they have put in capital, they are not even able to recoup. If you are putting in, look, Chief, I do not know how long you would want to take to recoup a 10 million Ghana investment, but if you build a station today and put all the facilities meant for safety, right, in place, and your markup or margin or take home at the end of the whole month was 4,000 cedis, I wonder how many would want to do the right thing. And that explains the surge in illegal products on the market. Initially, Kojo was running away from that discussion. There are a good number of stations that would force themselves to sell very good fuel at any point in time. There are also those ones who would cut corners and simply do the wrong thing because the system itself is squeezing them dry. Chief, there are issues. If you have the time, I'm sure I'll be ready to come any day. Kojo should make himself available. We'll get some of these active players also available. They can explain their story. It is not for me to speak for them. That's why I don't really dwell on their issues. For anything.
Right. Duncan, just hold for me. I see Kojo starting to come in. But Bernice, so it makes an interesting picture, isn't it? Because these are two big wigs in the industry, and they seem to have a disagreement on some specifics. But I think we're both thinking about the NPA and how much indeed they are giving, or what rate they are giving to these OMCs.
Interesting. And so like you mentioned, they're disagreeing especially on whether the OMCs are making more than they should, and Duncan disagrees. So it comes down back to the figures and how we feel it in our pocket. So for Duncan, scrapping the taxes will help. For Kojopoku, the OMCs need to reduce their margins. And so clearly we are not on the same page here. So what we expect, according to COPEC, is that the fuel prices will be increasing in the next window. Let me come back to you, Duncan, because you say that these OMCs are running at a loss, despite what Kojopoku is telling us. So based on what you've been telling us so far, should we expect to see a recurrence, in the prices if the OMCs are able to push to get their demands met?
You see, Bennett, what really is prevailing with these active, what you call the petroleum service providers, is not a very fertile ground. And I would indulge you. Allow them time on your network. They would explain their crisis to you. You heard the chairman for General Petroleum Transport indicating there could be shortages. Indeed, there have been shortages in the system. If I took out to the market $10 million previously, and at 5 cedis, right, I could procure, let's say, 1,000 tons or 1,000 metrics or 2,000 metrics. The moment it goes up to about 10 cedis, I cannot have the same volume again if I'm an active OMC. And so their financing itself is becoming a huge challenge for them. But that's their own issue to discuss. I am not their mouthpiece. Mine is to look at the one not investing anything but collecting everything, which is the government.
Kojopoku, you laugh at that. Why?
Yes, because if somebody logged on to this show, he would have thought Duncan has gotten a job with AOMC.
Because that's the reason I didn't want to do this, and you are pushing it, Kojo, because at the end of the day...
hold on, gentlemen. Hold on, gentlemen. Kojo, wait. Hold on, Duncan. Kojo, Duncan is just letting us in on what he knows.
You are accusing me of. I don't want to do this.
Duncan and Kojo, please hold on. Kojo, Duncan is just letting us in on what he knows and is asking us to give our platform to the OMCs, which our producers will work out. That's if they are willing to speak at all.
We all also know what government goes through. So it's unfair if you're now telling government to reduce its taxes, but you are defending the malpractices and the over margin.
But he has given us reasons why he.
Let me say.
And Kojo, even as you state what you're going to do, like Bernice has said, this is the concern. What Duncan is saying, is it true or not?
Yeah.
Let's start from there. Is it true or not?
Okay. What Duncan is saying, for me, no, I don't buy into it. Look, listen, let me tell you why. And me and my brother Duncan have had this conversation over and over. That's why we are both laughing. Look, that's the only disagreement between me and Duncan on a lot of things. Listen, there are 170 OMCs in Ghana. If it's such a bad business, why are there that many companies and there are still companies trying to register more? Ask yourself, if the OMC business is such a bad business, there are over 170 OMCs in Ghana. Why are more people trying to get into that business? It's not. Look, go and look at Gwell. Gwell is a publicly traded company. Gwell's account is online, so you can actually Google it now and look at it. Year on year, look at the jump in gross profits. That will set you a tone of the monies being made by these OMCs. So if anybody tells you that these guys are not making money, it's a lie. I don't believe that.
But okay, so just looking at the figures and seeing their profits, have you juxtaposed that against expenditure, against how much they pay their staff?
What is the profit, my dear? What is profit? If you are making losses, then your expenditure is more than your revenue. When somebody makes a net profit...
No, I understand, but I'm saying that you're talking about the figures online, so they tell you how much they make in the end. But
their audited accounts is online. Okay. So their audited accounts, you see their net profit.
Okay.
Is Kojo aware that boss is actually blaming Goyle for helping with their losses last year? Is he aware? That
yes, look, we are not talking
that part of their losses is because they own shares in Goyle, and Goyle is not, probably helping them. And so they were blaming them. Goyle, is Kojo aware?
Yes, I'm aware.
I do think that like I've said, Kojo should not invite me to now have to speak for OMCs. It's not my job. I don't think it is really healthy. The facts are on the ground. He wanted the figures from MPA. I've just shared that with your team. I'm sure you can probably double check. So the 7.4, there's a problem there. It's actually 7.8 from the NPA. And that is usually lower than the market actually gives the BDCs and also import fuel.
Duncan, let me clarify that. The what you see online is what Abbas and his team put out there being the average in the market. But you can also double check and find out from MPA and the Ministry of Energy that as per the last 5 weeks, the OMCs and the BDCs are no longer buying forex from the open market. So that exercise which Abbas and his team does, which you put the number, rightfully so, you took the number from what MPA put out. I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying to you is that the factual, how much the forex that these OMCs are buying is not at 7.8, though MPA in their calculation, in their document, put 7.8.
So, Kojo, to the substantive issue. So you're saying that based on what you know to be the actual figures given to these OMCs, we should not expect the price increase as predicted by COPEC?
No, you not see, nobody will increase price by 7%. I mean, it's marginal. 7 pesos is marginal for the market. But you see, look, the point I was making before my internet disrupted, what I'm saying is that even at 20%, 20 pesos difference, there are companies today that are selling 20 pesos cheaper than the Big Four. So if the Big Four is going to increase by 7 pesos, you still get 20 pesos cheaper in other filling stations that people don't want to patronize. So really and truly, if Ghanaians want the deregulation to work, okay, you should punish the OMCs for selling higher and patronize the cheaper fuel.
Okay, but back to my question. I'm saying the concern for a lot of Ghanaians is the increase in the product, and
but the increase is not justified. That's my point.
But you're also telling us. You're also telling us that the figures that COPEC used in making this prediction is not right. So I'm asking you.
No, I'm not. No, I never said it's not right. No, what I'm saying is that the figures they used, it is not the actual that goes into the pricing in this window. In the past, let me explain. In the past, the forex price, the OMCs and the BDCs have always gone into the open market to buy forex. And most of them buy from the black market at a much higher price. What happens is that, let's say OMC A needs, let's say, $100,000. He goes and tells this bank that I need 100,000. The bank doesn't have it. He goes to bank 2. He tells them I need 100,000. That bank doesn't have it. But that bank, those two banks, trying to find forex for the same customer, goes to the black market and saying, look, I need 100,000. I need 100,000. So in the black market, somebody needs $200,000. Meanwhile, it's only one customer. So it keeps driving up the prices in the black market. What the ministry and the Bank of Ghana with MPA has done is to say that all OMCs and BDCs, from this day, I will give you the forex you need for your operations, which is what me and Duncan has been calling for. And it's been done, which is having a desk at the Bank of Ghana to cater for the needs of the forex for the downstream. That has been done. And my brother Duncan knows this. So what I'm saying is that he's not wrong from using the prices which MPA has quoted. But what I'm saying is that the real figures, the amount sold to these BDCs and OMCs is not 7.8. In the last auction, it was 7.45.
Right. It's a little fuzzy. Duncan, can you confirm this? So there is a figure that the MPA is giving, but the actuals, in actuality, what you're getting it from the central bank is lower. Can you confirm that?
If Kojo has got any proof to this, I'm sure we'll be happy to have it too. We don't have any such indication.
My brother Duncan, will I lie to you?
I do not know if the NPA would also have what they will call actual and what otherwise they publish. If they are getting it to them at the actual, that is what we expect the NPA to publish. So it comes as news to me.
That makes sense, right? Duncan, just hold for me. That makes sense, Kojo. So how can the MPA publish one thing and execute something else? What is your evidence to say that they are actually getting it lower?
I agree. Look, it's not, listen, I have always said that this indicative prices and those things that MPA does, they should stop it because it distorts the market. It's a deregulated market. I don't see why MPA puts upon themselves to be issuing those things that they do as a guidance to the market. Look, like I said, there are 170 OMCs. Some of them don't even have proper accountants to calculate these prices for them. They just benchmark it price per the OMC thing and then use it to also price. So I agree 100% with you that on the MPA publication, as I stated to them last night, that is a misleading document. Because if you are telling me that the actual auction, which happened for the buying of Forex in this window, is 7.45, then you have a department in MPA publishing 7.8 something, it's misleading. So that is what I think. I agree with Duncan. Duncan is not putting out on truth, but the point is that I have always said that MPA should stop that publication because it doesn't have any bearing on our life.
Okay, so in your words, if the actual figures were used in the compilation, then we won't be having an increase in the next
we should, in fact, have a reduction instead of an increase.
Interesting.
Quick question for you, Kojo. So if the OMCs were willing to let their margins shrink a little, would you then be less averse to government also on its side taking away some taxes for petroleum? Because you started by saying the practicality of it right now is that we shouldn't do that. If the OMCs were to give some way or some room, could we also then legitimately say government should also do same to cushion the ordinary Ghanaian?
I have always said that on your program, that I think that if government is to reduce taxes, then we should cap or get the OMCs to also manage their margins. Because what we've seen in the past, and we saw this clearly in 2020, when prices went as low in the world market, but Ghana, we only went down to 4 cedis per litre. And at that point, the OMC margins were around 80 pesos a litre. Okay, so the OMCs can really play higher in the market. I honestly don't believe that any OMC who is worth their salt is making losses. Like I said, they can bring their books to show us, but I know your mismanagement and your inefficiency should not be burden on me. So if you go and get an OMC license and you don't know how to run efficiently and you're making losses, go and check your inefficiencies and your overheads. But for me, what I see Gual do, and Gual is a monster company, which some of us think that they even overexpend. Their expenditure is too high. They is run inefficiently. So if Gual is making these profits, clearly, other companies can make same, and they know there's profit in there. That is why there's 170 companies around the country, big OMCs, and more looking for licenses.
And so, getting to the thrust of the issue, where we've got to, for you, Duncan, what do you think the way forward is? Would it be that the OMCs should be willing, because look, the transport companies, I mean, the GPRTU has announced that it's going to up fares. And it is not what it wants to do, but it has been constrained and it will have to do that. What is the middle ground, the way to move forward, as far as the OMCs are concerned and as far as government is concerned on this matter?
Benjamin, let me place on record that we are quite aware of all the nuances within the system. It is our candid belief that a body like TUC is equally aware of all the nuances within the petroleum downstream. The GPRTU has received extensive briefings from all of us. I am not certain that these institutions could all be wrong and only the government or Kojo is right. I'm not certain. I would show you.
So that's the question. How do we find middle ground?
Kojo, the middle ground, right? The truth of petroleum pricing is in the price build-up. If you go through the price build-up, you will see where the devil lay. And so it is not for nothing that in the presence of the finance minister, in the presence of the energy minister, the NPA, Seaboard itself, COPEC, and others, present. We could still ask for tax cuts. It was not for nothing that in front of the chief finance manager for the country, there were still cases made for taxes to be reduced. The case was not made for OMC margin to be reduced because their margins is the only time you are even talking about deregulation. If you go and check the pump prices and there are differences, the differences is the margin. It's not even the taxes, because you can't vary the taxes. So get it. The only time you see a difference in gold price from Total price or Shell price is when either of them have decided to kill their margins to come lower. So they are already killing their margins. Let Kojo not distract all of this and insist that the OMC should take their margins off and then government would also take taxes off. He succeeded this morning in diverting the whole conversation back to the OMC platform. The OMC is investing heavily. What is government investment? Nothing. Yet you are collecting baller tax. Yet you are collecting that other tax you call stabilization and recovery. So, Ben, take it from me. We are quite averse of these issues. And we think that where we can actually get some respite is some of the taxes actually being eased down, even for 3 months. Because the world market indicators are still looking bullish. As I speak with you, Europe is almost getting to a point where diesel itself is probably going to be short for quite a long time because Russia doesn't look like it is going to budge with anything, right? Once Europe has that challenge, cargo will now be diverted from other ports to Europe because they will pay top money. And so you may be getting to a much difficult point than we currently are.
Okay.
If we should get to a difficult point, okay, we are already at 11 cedis for diesel. If things were to get further west, are we going to go to 12? Is Kojo saying the government itself, which is also fueling for the police, fueling for the military, fueling for office of government machinery, fueling for ministries, departments, agencies, fueling for the district assemblies, right? Doesn't have any say at all in ensuring that fuel prices are a bit affordable to the pockets, because if fuel is 11 cedis, government would also pay for it at the end of the accounting year. It doesn't have an OMC that it takes petrol from. It will take from the same market you and I buy from, and it will pay the same amount of money, Benjamin, you are paying for at the pumps. And so government itself has a stake in there. Beyond even government expenditure,
okay,
look at where your economy itself is headed. Inflation is galloping. Inflation is galloping simply because fuel prices is not stable. Go to the UAE, right? I have always said that you probably would have to use the GCC model in Ghana. They produce the oil. They have a model that allows them to refine and supply to their own people. So whatever you people are doing out there is your problem. They can, help their market and come to the open market and sell the rest of the crude to you. But we don't have that model. So there's no strategy whatsoever to sustain petroleum products. That it itself is a problem.
Okay.
Your refinery is shut down. You are happy about it.
Right.
But who should be keeping strategic stock cannot give you a liter. There are challenges. We need to solve them. If we don't, and we are now targeting the private businessman who comes with his money to build a filling station to try to work to earn something, and we say that he should take off everything. Meanwhile, the state which has not invested a peswa is collecting all the money, like I've indicated. MPA alone, right? Their license fees now. If the guys finish paying, do you expect them to go and sell their houses and pay, and at the end of the day, they get those monies back? Not. They would rather have to add it to the petrol products. Forgive me, but that's the reality.
Okay.
That's the stark reality. $300,000. If you multiply that by 8, just imagine how much you are doing.
So right? very lucid thoughts you've shared, and you've actually got me thinking about a number of matters. But unfortunately, time is not our friend.
Well, but let me say one quick thing.
Kojo, hold on. Kojo, hold for me. Since we've allowed you, Duncan, to wrap up your comments, Kojo, you'll have 1 minute to wrap up. But I just wanted to mention, I'm looking at the petroleum price indicators as of the 27th of April 2022, and it does confirm from the MPA that the forex rate, that is commercial bank average USD to Ghana cedi, is 7.8165. So in a minute or so, just conclude with your thoughts. And
we've all agreed on that. I said that it's an error for MPA to put out one document which says a certain number, but the actual what the OMCs are getting is not the same. So I have pointed it out that it's an error. But let me put a small disclaimer. As much as Duncan does not speak for the OMC, I also don't speak for government. So let's put that disclaimer out there so that people watching will not think that my brother Duncan speaks for OMC and Kojo Poku speak for government. We both speak for the common Ghanaians, just that we disagree on some of these issues. Look, let me add this. The basic information that the Ghanaians need to know is, will my price go down?
Definitely.
Kojo Poku is for price going down. And I think that for prices to go down, both parties have a role to play. Government has a role to play in making sure that some nuisance taxes are reduced. I agree with Duncan on that 100%. But if Duncan says that government does not make any investment, so he cannot take taxes, I disagree. Because the road that he drives his lovely Range Rover on, that he doesn't let me drive some, that road is done by government. The lovely area and all the sanitation that is taken away that he called Bola tax is to make sure that we have a clean society. All the things government do is from taxes. So if government does not get these taxes, that's the investment government makes, social interventions, electricity, though government collect those money and abuses it. And that is the conversation, Ben, me and you have always had, the abuse of revenue. Okay, so let's not say that government doesn't make any investment. Government do make investment from these taxes by doing the social interventions that they need to do. Government, in its own wisdom, have said that they need these taxes, so they can only reduce 15 pesos. Let's move on. Let's look at the private sector. It's a deregulated market. Why are you increasing margins when you could decrease margin to favor your customers? Let's have that conversation also. But I'm saying that why government taxes have become a paniada. We always keep to talk about that and not talk about the deregulated market where private companies are driving up prices through their margin. That is my conversation.
Right. We appreciate your time here. Kojo Poku is an energy analyst, and we also had Duncan Amoah, who is with COPEC. Quite an intense one, Benjamin.
The point of
no
departure,
compromise at all.
No compromise, and it's all about money. But I think somewhere in there, the OMCs maybe could cede a little ground, and government could also not capitulate, but also give some room. Because I think this hard stance of hardball, like Mr. President said, we get this from that, and we can't do focal about it, is going to have the ripple effect of affecting everybody. I hear people complaining now when they are moving you move from here to there, that there's a problem. And with another threat of fair increments,
and that's why Duncan argues that it may cost us more than that 4 billion if we do not scrap the taxes.
Up to about 20 billion.
All the ripple effects. Well, there are interesting conversations there. But we'll be monitoring the pumps and see what translates on the ground. You're still watching the AM show with Bernice and Benjamin. Coming up shortly, we'll be joined by Richlove Amamu. She's Central Regional Director of Gender. Kweku Pencil is a lawyer, and Alexis Derry, President, Association of Social Workers. And we are talking about streetism, how it affects the children and how it affects you. Do stay.